Dear colleagues and partners, I'm Mamadou Bite, Regional Director of Oxfam GB in West Africa. I would like to thank you for your contribution to the Global Output Report this year. This is a process we have started about 3 years ago, and I have to say that every year it has been improving. So thank you for your commitment to that. However, we have still a lot of room to improve it. So I thought that by telling you why we are doing this, you might better understand its importance. Actually, in the current situation of the global financial crisis and the increased competition on resources, but also the pressure from the public in the north on their governments, etc., to demonstrate the impact of aid. In the past, the way we told our stories were more based on perception, not on real data, strong, robust data. So this is why the senior leadership of Oxfam decided to develop a framework by which we can gather strong data to demonstrate our impact and its scale. That's how we came up with the Global Output Report, which measures 6 global indicators. The second part of it is the effectiveness reviews. This is based on a random sampling of a project and also external evaluation to really measure outcomes of our work in order to demonstrate impact. This is a very brave role modeling that Oxfam has taken, actually to make it public through reports which are easy to access and which uses a traffic light system. And this helps us as well in terms of really deriving learning in the organization. So to enable this and to make it successful, it will be really important that you look at the guidelines about how data can be collected, so that this data is trustworthy, is robust, and allows us to derive the learning and to use it appropriately for the improvement of our work. So again, I would like to thank you very much for your commitment to this process. Thank you.
So, in terms of what went well with the global output reporting, I think one of the most valuable things we found very useful was that give us a chance to really take a step back and think about what we as a country program have been doing, and then also to realize how that fits into the global output. So there were challenges that we had. One of the challenges is that Nigeria program is an agri support program, and so it's difficult to really put, to have a lot of direct beneficiaries from an advocacy point of view. And being an agri support program, most of the beneficiaries are indirect, and because the global output reporting does not really put a lot of value on the indirect beneficiaries, that makes the impact seem, not much. But I think we should probably consciously make an effort to see how we can get information regarding indirect beneficiaries into this, because if you're an advocacy program, that's where you make the most impact. The people that your policy reforms that you've pushed for made an impact on, or the people you have been able to empower to engage with relevant dialogues at the national level. On the way forward, I think this is probably quite important for all of us, as country programs, to build and fully integrate the data collection process into our programming, so that we are consciously, gathering relevant data and information, and I mean qualitative as well as quantitative data. Thank you very much.
Sometimes it takes time to access proof of evidence to appreciate program results in order to communicate effectively about our work. This year, I've been working on the West Africa Annual Report, and I have to say that using the Global Output Report made it easy for me to access the information I needed, such as beneficiary numbers globally, in the region and by country. But what was more interesting is that these numbers are disaggregated in our different areas of program. So I spent less time and effort looking for factual information to illustrate the annual report. It was not complicated at all. I could access the information needed in one place. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David MacDonald. I'm the Deputy Regional Director for Oxfam GB here in West Africa, wanting to take you through some of the information that came out of our Global Output Report from the information that you all supplied at a country level. This has now been aggregated, and what we can see from that is, on the global picture, Oxfam in West Africa, Oxfam GB in West Africa, has had a total impact directly on the lives of 1.1 million people during the last financial year. As we can see, if we look at the way that breaks down at a country level, the biggest country, which is largely coming out of a humanitarian impact that we were having, is Chad. Similarly, we see high numbers of beneficiaries in places like Côte d'Ivoire with 50,000 beneficiaries, and that was for a humanitarian only intervention, as we don't normally have a programme working there. Liberia, 200,000 people we impacted on, and this again was largely through the humanitarian programming that we're doing with the refugees from Côte d'Ivoire. So overall, this starts to build a picture that we can see where we have programmes where we have a humanitarian history, a humanitarian heritage inside the work. The beneficiaries remain high. In some country programmes such as Nigeria, which is 1,500 beneficiaries, and Ghana at 10,000, what this is telling me is I think we're still struggling to capture the full impact of our work, or the scale of the impact of our work. Ghana and Nigeria are programmes where we're trying to influence how government and key actors think, to try to influence their behaviour and leverage change by being smart about the sort of actions we're expecting other people to take. I think what we're seeing when we see beneficiary numbers of around about 1,500 or less than 10,000 in these countries is that we're not quite capturing that direct impact on lives. So that's one thing we want to try and improve when we come to be doing this process next year. If we look year on year and compare the numbers with how we did last year, as you can see from this chart, from 2009 to 2010 up to last year, we've almost doubled the number of beneficiaries, from just over 600,000 to over 1 million. As far as the gender split goes, we're probably about the same. Frankly, this is something I would like again to see us targeting a bigger proportion of women benefiting directly from the programmes that we run here in West Africa. That obviously relies on the kind of programmes that you all run at a country level. But just to reiterate very clearly, Oxfam GB's ambition is to put women's rights at the heart of all our programmes. But it's still very positive. As I say, we've almost doubled the number of direct beneficiaries in the last 2 years. So this is positive, and many, many thanks to you and your teams for the hard work you've been putting in there. If we go and look at a sectoral breakdown of this, it does mean that round about 70% of the work that we're doing back here was in humanitarian work, and that's remained consistent. In fact, has increased slightly up to just over 80% in the last year. And I think that will continue. We're dealing with populations that are very vulnerable. It's not just poverty people are suffering from, but it's high degrees of vulnerability. So as we go forward into next year and beyond, you'll see us increasingly focusing on building resilience building resilience within communities that are inherently vulnerable. Now, we hope that last year's Global Output Report process you found easier than the previous one. And we're hoping that this trend will continue and that you're able to both input the figures in a way that makes sense to you and in a way that tell the story of your programmes, but also get something from those figures. And when you see the numbers, you can start to see the stories that underlie those numbers and start to see the areas you want to prioritise in your programming. Okay, thank you for your time.